Welcome, everybody, to the World of Concacaf Podcast News Desk. I'm Eric Schmitz.
And I'm Donald Wine.
And we're bringing you a special edition of the News Desk. We are recording live right after Concacaf has completed the draw for the 2026-2027 Concacaf Nations League. We are just thriving right now. Donald, how are you feeling?
It's everything. You know, we've been through withdrawal the past few days because there's no more World Cup, but damn it, we're back, baby. It's Nations League time.
Who needs a World Cup when you've got Concacaf Nations League?
And Concacaf, thank you for recognizing the struggle and saying, let's put this draw this week. Let's not waste time, and let's not hold off on the fun. Let's give it to the people who deserve it.
Yeah, people have been waiting. They're just biding their time through this quote unquote World Cup for, the more prestigious global international soccer competition. Before we get to the groups, we'll just run through the draw quickly. We don't want to take too much of your time. We're just going to kind of recap everything you need to know for this draw. But one of the big news items out of this draw is we've got a rebrand. Concacaf released a new logo and branding for Concacaf Nations League. Donald, just first thoughts on it?
I think it's fine. It feels, let's be real, it feels a little bit more corporate, but I think in any rebrand it's going to feel that way. But I do like that they continue to have the different colors representing the different leagues. And it's just a nice visual to see, what was it, the blue, the red, and the green just kind of out there. And you see that those recognize as three different leagues. So I like that part. The actual logo, it looks a lot like the UEFA Nations League one. It does look better than it still. So, I mean, we knew that was possible, but yeah.
I was going to say it smells European. And
they definitely got their hands on this.
Yes. Yeah. So it's, like you said, much more corporate. It seems like a generic soccer competition logo, even though Nations League is anything but generic. I guess for me, I'm just kind of disappointed because the original logo, while so unique, did maintain, so much CONCACAF within it. I guess now I just don't know what to do about my tattoo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can have the old logo. They still have the visuals out there, the vector image, so you can put that on your body.
Everyone's gonna know that I'm an OG.
Put that in your body in a place that only the true OGs would be able to see it someday.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yes. This logo will look great on Volar's chest if he ever wants to wear that. So yeah, we got a new look, new vibe. The draw went quick. It was smooth. It's a great presentation by Concacaf. It almost feels like they've got their shit together, which is a little unnerving. That's not the Concacaf I know.
They had a little bit of chit chat, and then they were like, "Let's do this, guys." They had like a couple of videos, but it started at 7 o'clock on the East Coast. By 7:10, we were drawing, which is great. So it was very good, very efficient. On TV, they had a whole full hour time block, and they only used 40 minutes of it. I don't know what FS1, FS2 went to after that, but they were done. So I like the fact they didn't, they spared us all the hoopla and singing a song and stuff like that. We didn't have any performances or anything like that. It was just a couple videos. One from Victor Montagliani, who they put an asterisk or an apostrophe accent, I'm sorry, on the I, because now he's Mexican, I guess. And then they had the video explaining what the draw was like, and off we went.
Yeah, off we will go. So the fifth edition of your CONCACAF Nations League. Let's start with League C. Now in League C, it's going to be the same format as the last two editions of the competition. With League C, because of the new format of the windows in the FIFA calendar, it's going to be a little weird. CONCACAF's made some changes, try to make things easier on the nations. And we'll get into that. League C is a good example of that. So League C, 3 groups of 3 teams. All of the games will take place in the new combined September-October window. All of the games will be at the top seeded team's home field. The top seed will host all games in the group. in this window. So it'll be a quick turnaround for this. The first place team in each group, as well as the second best finishing, the best finishing second place team, I'm sorry, will not only advance to the brand new League C championships, but they will also get promoted to League B for the next Nations League. So let's go to the groups. Donald, do you want to start with Group A?
So Group A, we have Montserrat, Turks and Caicos Islands, and the British Virgin Islands. What do you think about that? I think that's a
Bunch
pretty
of
decent
British
list.
overseas territories. That's what I think.
Yeah, sounds like the Commonwealth Games.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see where they end up hosting these games because if Montserrat is the top seed, in in theory they should be hosting. But the one thing we know about Montserrat is that nobody can get to Montserrat. So even though they're posting up for the whole window, I'm really interested to see where these games end up taking place.
And I don't think Montserrat, if I have to remember correctly, did they have any neutral site games last time around, or even during World Cup qualifying? I don't think they did. I think they played on the island.
Actually, Montserrat has not played a home game in Montserrat since 2023. If you
Oh,
remember
interesting.
the Nations League format, they were still doing the hosted group games where Montserrat was actually the fourth seed in League B, so they didn't get to host any games in the last
That's
Nations
right.
League.
That's
So it's
right.
actually been a minute since they've played on the island. So I'm curious as to where those quote unquote home games are going to be.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I know, you have the one ferry to Montserrat. You have like one airline that may or may not take off. We're not going to pub them here, but y'all know who we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting in some of these cases, right? Especially for League C, you have these uh, you have these opportunities, not necessarily this particular time around, but you definitely have some of these teams that they're like, oh, we have to figure out how to get everybody to there. That's part of the reason why we have these neutral site kind of bubbles now. I know
Yeah.
they started during COVID, but they kept it up because they wanted to reduce the emphasis on travel and the struggles that a lot of these teams have of getting their teammates or getting their roster to some of these places.
Yes. So that's Group A. Group B, your top seeded team is going to be Antigua and Barbuda. So the match will be taking place there, joined by Aruba and Anguilla. Notice that all three of these countries start with an A and end with an A, which I think is kind of weird. We got our British Overseas Territories group in the A group, which
Get
is
the
Group
double
B,
A's in
double
Group
A's
B.
and
Yeah.
Group B. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Sir Vivian Richards, the stadium, you're on deck. Nice venue for Nations League.
Yeah. Speaking of nice venues, Group C.
Group C is Saint Martin, the French side. We have Bahamas and we have the U.S. Virgin Islands. So all those matches will be taking place on the French side of Saint Martin.
Yes. I I made a comment to our friend Ryan. I'm like, I'm very disappointed that there's no chance of St. Martin both hosting games in the same window. Maybe next time.
We've had the Virgin Island Derby. We need the Saint Martin Derby.
I
We
don't
need
even
that
want
to
St.
happen
Martin. I don't even want St. Martin Derby. I just want them to both be hosting games at the same
at
time.
the same
So
time,
so
so you
you can
can
go from
just.
one side of the island to the other and just see games on games.
I love it. Knock it out. Knock them both out. But unfortunately, that will not happen.
Yeah. So a lot of action coming in League C in the September to and October window. And again, group winners and the best second place team will be advancing to not only the League C championship, which is brand new, and getting promoted to the next Nations League, League B. Speaking of League B, let's go to the League B groups. Um, so talk about how they're hosted at one of the seeded teams' sites. In League B, they'll be playing the September matches at the third ranked team, October matches at the second ranked team, and the November window, those will be at the top seeded team. First place in League B will go to the Gold Cup and the League B Championship, which is going to take place in March at a to be determined uh, neutral site. The best two second place teams in League B will go to the Gold Cup prelims, and then the fourth place team in each group, the last place team, will get relegated to League C for the next edition. Donald, do you want to start us off with Group A?
Yeah, before we do that though, you mentioned the new Nations League League B championship and the League C championship that's taking place in March alongside the Nations League finals, which is going to be at SoFi Stadium. I wonder if they put all of those in LA, right? You have BMO Stadium, you have Carson,
Inshallah,
and
you know.
just like they did the Copa America playoff in Dallas, where we went to Frisco, where the Nations League Finals was in Arlington. That makes a lot of sense, and it makes it where A, all of CONCACAF's resources can be in one place, but also B, you have an opportunity to really make it a full CONCACAF weekend, and sickos like us will go to those games, and you have a lot of people coming, and makes it a whole kind of event. It makes all these games an event um, as opposed to putting them elsewhere. But I also recognize the fact that not everybody's fans would be able to get to LA for that, so that's the question they got to kind of
Yeah.
comprehend. But yeah,
I mean, I mean, with the CONCACAF head honchos being in LA, it would be great. Yeah, put the League B championship at you know BMO Stadium. Put League C out in Carson, or vice versa.
hmm
Uh, I mean, League C you could go play on Venice Beach if you really wanted to.
that'd be fun.
It'd be fun. But yeah, they really didn't clarify where those are going to be. Maybe it's going to be at one of the countries. Maybe you're going to do it in Miami, where it's more regionally appropriate. I don't know.
And
We
where
will see.
CONCACAF's located, so.
Yeah, I mean it's CONCACAF. Who knows?
Exactly. I'm sorry, League B Group A, we have Guyana, we have Puerto Rico, Dominica, and the Cayman Islands.
Group B is going to be headlined by Guadeloupe, Bermuda, St. Lucia, and Barbados.
We have Group C, which is Cuba, Grenada, St. Kitts and Nevis, and Bonaire.
And following up with Group D, headlined by French Guiana. The next team is St. Vincent and the Grenadines, joined by Belize and the Dutch side, St. Martin. Donald, is
I
there one
like
group here that kind of sticks out to you as super interesting?
Well, I think you mentioned the neutral sites in September, October, in November. I think it's interesting that in November you have Guyana and French Guiana. So two of our three South American counterparts are going to be hosting games. And then you also have Cuba, who maybe has lights. I don't know if they have lights.
Yeah,
It's
who
the
knows
fifth
where those
edition.
games are
You
going to
think they would
be?
have lights by now, but that's going to be a requirement. They haven't played in Cuba in a long while because of the fact that CONCACAF likes to schedule these in the evening and require the stadium to have lights, of which their national stadium does not still, at least as of last year.
Well, I
So
think
that's what's interesting to me.
the more complicated thing is if you're doing neutral site games where having multiple games in one spot. If you're playing them on the same match day, it's a double header. So if you're playing in a field that doesn't have lights, it's like a noon and 3 p.m. kickoff. I
hmm
don't know if they want to do that. So I'm sure more information will come on League B, and these sites and locations for these things. But I am interested to see. I think Group B is going to be the most competitive one of all of them. Yeah, Barbados has a history of getting some results. Guadeloupe, who knows what they're going to look like. And Bermuda, St. Lucia, they can be competitive. So we will see. Um, so that's League B. Next up, League A. So League A, this it's kind of a mess, hard to explain, but your top four teams in CONCACAF, Mexico, USA, Canada, Panama, all in League A, all of them getting a bye directly to the quarterfinals. They will be joined by two teams from each of these groups. So the top two advance to the quarterfinals. Third and fourth place teams will go to the Gold Cup prelims, and the fifth and sixth place teams will get relegated. Now they will play Swiss style scheduling, 2 games home, 2 games away at home sites. So you're getting actual travel with these. But because there's 6 teams in a group, and they're playing 4 games, you get some weird scheduling. But let's run down the groups first before we talk about how the scheduling might affect this. Donald, tell us who's in Group A.
So Group A, again, 6 teams. You have Costa Rica, Haiti, Trinidad and Tobago, Curacao, Nicaragua, and the Dominican Republic.
Group B is going to be led by Honduras, Jamaica, Guatemala, Suriname, Martinique, and El Salvador.
Now,
Now,
if you're keeping track at home, like I am, and I know you are, Eric, Group A has 2 land countries and 4 islands, while Group B has 4 land countries, and we're including Suriname in that, and it has 2 islands. Though I know Suriname is part of the fabled CFU, Caribbean Football Union. They are technically not an island. So if you're rooting for islands, root for Group A because they have more of them.
now, like I said, the top 2 teams in each group will advance to the quarterfinals. But the seeding is already set for these top 4. So the best first place team, the first place team with the best record between the 2 groups, will play Panama in the quarterfinals. The next best first place team will play Canada. The second place team with the best record will play the United States in the quarterfinals. And then the second place team with the worst record after the 4 games will play Mexico. Now, the interesting thing about this is the scheduling. So we've yet to see it confirmed, but after the last 2 phases of Nations League, we have kind of a scheduling matrix that we can work off of where teams will play one team in their group, home and home. It's all based on seeding. And then a couple of random seeds that are preset. So the way the rankings flushed out with the draw really impacts how tough of a draw you've got. So the first and second place teams will play each other in a home and home. Third and fourth place teams will play each other home and home. Fifth and sixth place teams will play each other home and home. And the first place team, they'll get that second place team, the second seeded team. They'll get them, and then they'll play the fourth seeded team home, and then away to the fifth seeded team. Second seeded team plays first seeded team home and home, and then they're home to 3 and away to 6. So it kind of varies throughout the group what kind of schedule you're going to get. So the way these seedings fell really impact what kind of draw you've got. So looking at Costa Rica, Haiti, Honduras, Jamaica, essentially if you split those games, you're going to need results against whoever you get drawn against. And if history shows anything, first place teams usually do okay. Although in the first edition, Haiti was a first seeded first in their group, and they got relegated because they ended up drawing 3 of their 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
In 23-24 edition, the seeds that got through to the quarterfinals were 1, 2, 3, and 6. In the last edition, the seeds that got through were 1, 1, 2, and 5. So we're looking at a wild card. Donald, now, just from my perspective, I think we look at what the World Cup might have taught us. And as much as you'd want to look at Curacao as having like a good shot, they're going to have to play Trinidad and Tobago home and away, and they have to go to Costa Rica. So kind of a tough draw for them. I think it's going to be the same thing for Suriname. They have to go to Honduras and have a home and home with Guatemala. Honestly, kind of a tough draw. I think the one team that's really sticking out is like they might have a reasonable shot here is El Salvador. El Salvador is a 6-seeded team in Group B. They are going to get to play Martinique home and away. Must be nice. And then they go to Guatemala and are home to Jamaica. Jamaica getting a result in El Salvador isn't necessarily a given. And El Salvador, if you're going to Guatemala, it's a very familiar territory. That's one team that I think can get through. any teams that are sticking out as you're feeling confident that they might have a shot to get through to the quarterfinals?
I think El Salvador is one that you kind of look out for because they have underperformed the last couple of years, which is why they were in pot six in League A, but they still have the tools to kind of get back into it. I think my question is going to be, is Jamaica going to try and show up for this competition? Because they just went through the ringer. They they got to the FIFA playoff for the World Cup, crashed out of that. They really should have qualified, but they crashed into the qualifying to the FIFA playoff and then crashed out there. They lost their coach. They hired another coach. They lost him. A lot of these guys are that they have brought in over the last few years. They're not getting any younger, and it's the question of whether they want to do a complete makeover of their player pool. If they are, they're going to be bringing in some guys to kind of test them out and evaluate them. And the question is going to be, are they going to try and punt on this competition and then maybe take their chances on a prelim for the Gold Cup, or is it going to be where they put all their nuts into this basket, know that they can use this qualifier for the Gold Cup and use that as kind of their reemergence? And so it's a question for a lot of these teams, but Jamaica specifically, you mentioned that they have to go on the road to El Salvador. They have to play Guatemala and then a home and home against Honduras. That is a difficult setup for them. That's probably the most difficult setup that they could possibly get with these teams. So they're really going to have to come correct. Otherwise, they're going to be on the outside looking in, and in the aftermath, they could be one of those teams that surprisingly is at risk of relegation because of the draw that they pull if this matrix holds true.
Yes. It's interesting for me too, going to Group A. Haiti, where are they going to have their home games? They're going to have to go
Hmm.
to Costa Rica. What is Costa Rica going to look like? Because Costa Rica, they had an abysmal qualifying performance. Like, should be a step forward for Costa Rica. It's a time to like rejuvenate the program, and especially with all the hubbub about what happened with their camp back in June, where they had a couple players get booted off the team for getting into a fight at a bar. What's Costa Rica gonna look like going into this? Because Keeler Navas, he ain't around no more. Like you need new guys to step up, and what does that look like? Trinidad and Tobago,
Yeah,
we're both
what are
shrugging
they
our
doing?
shoulders. Like, what are they doing right now? So I think more so than any of the past, looking at the past two competitions, I think this one is so much more of a toss up and will be super interesting to watch.
I think you were mentioning Curacao earlier, and I think Curacao, in a way, and we kind of talked about it in the last episode, they're kind of boosted from being at the World Cup and the experience that they got, right? Even though they had the one moment of glory and that was really it, they are boosted by this. And the fact that they get to do a home and home with Nicaragua, that's not easy, but it's not a, murderer's row here with those two games. And then you got what? I'm sorry, you would it's a home and home against Trinidad and Tobago, which
Mm-hmm.
that's a something that they should perceive as winnable. Then I believe what you go to Costa Rica, which is probably the only real hard match that they could have. And again, if they're boosted by this World Cup and understand that, hey, we can get back to the Gold Cup and continue to build our program and build our prestige and our name through these competitions, if they take this seriously, they should be the ones in my mind. They should be one of the two teams that comes out of this group. And it's
Yeah.
just a matter of how they play against, again, get the points they need to against Trinidad and Tobago, and it'd be how they play on the road against Costa Rica. If they can steal a result of some sort, they're at least set themselves up for that last match day to be able to punch their ticket. And so I think that's the key for Curacao is building on the momentum that they have. And the great thing is these are the first matches after the World Cup for them, so they don't have to like sit there and worry about what's our makeup going to look like. They can take those same guys, put them right back out in the field, and say, hey, let's go do this again.
Yeah. So we're still waiting on confirmation on scheduling. As we get closer to the fall, we'll certainly have some more discussion about this tournament and what these teams are facing. Um, in the meantime, Make sure you're following us on social media at PodCacaf, P-O-D, CACAF, for all of the Nations League coverage you could ever dream of. So for Donald, for Jonathan, who couldn't join us tonight, for me, for Volar, I just want to say thanks for listening. We're looking forward to the return of Nations League, the greatest competition on the face of the planet, and we'll see you next time.